Keith Kelly, Director of Athletics Communication here, alongside head football coach Buchanan. Hendrix Warriors just got done with their first victory, first game of the season, first victory of the season, a 37-27 win against Lion to remain undefeated all time. Coach, just give your thoughts on the game real fast.
Well, thoughts on the game. We came out fast. We started good in the first quarter. We had our defense played really well, especially there in the first. Had 5 drives, I think, where they didn't have a first down, and that was really kind of the pace horse that led us through the game. And then our offense capitalized, got 20 points in the first quarter. I believe that's right. Is that what the stat sheet said? Yeah, I don't really notice that stuff till after the game. So, but we did a good job of getting on top and then forcing those guys to make some adjustments, mistakes. I was very disappointed in the way we played the second quarter altogether. I think we played a little tired. Probably a product of a couple things of not having a game under our belt like they had, and missing a few practices for Lightning in the last couple weeks. So that was, I think, a factor in the second and fourth quarters for us. But that being said, our guys really performed well all together. We obviously have a lot to improve on. We didn't necessarily do everything that I would like to have done correctly. We had some squandered opportunities, and then we had some plays that we're better to be lucky than good. So we'll take those. We're not going to give those back, but definitely we can strive to be more effective in our efficiency and execution. That's a lot of ease.
That's a lot of ease. You take a look at the stat sheets. It was a very impressive performance, not only from the seniors but also from some young talent. Sandy Burks, senior kicker, got named SAA Special Teams Player of the Week, but also yesterday on Tuesday also got named to the Division III Football National Team of the Week. Burks ended up going 3 for 3 on a field goal, including a 44-yarder that ended up tying the all-time program record for longest field goal make in a game, and also went 4 of 4 for PATs for combined 13 points, which also tied the most points in a game by a single individual scorer. Jared Basley, also another guy that got some accolades this week. Talk about those two guys and some other guys that might have stuck out, from your point, or from your perspective this week.
Yeah, I was really pleased to anytime you have national awards and conference recognition, that's just a notch in the belt for the team, because your team has to do well to get those kind of things and to get those accolades. So I was really pleased with that, and we have an opportunity to get guys on that list. That's great. Basley being a sophomore coming in, kind of unique for him. He got a position. He plays all across the defensive line. We move him around a lot, and he got 3 sacks from 3 different positions. So that was kind of impressive, and I was really pleased with the way our defensive line played in the game. We blitzed some too, and our front 7 accumulated 9 sacks in the game, which I believe it probably is a record too. I'm not real sure, but I don't remember the last time we've had that many sacks in a game. So I thought we had the quarterback under duress. Thought we did a good job of forcing him to make some bad throws. And then later in the game when we got tired, we still had good pressure. We didn't cover necessarily as well as we should have. We had some busts that we probably shouldn't have allowed to happen. However, if your front's playing that good, you have an opportunity to keep those things from happening, even though you have busts. So that's a lot of pressure on our front. I think we're going to see a lot of improvement as we go through the year. Also, offensively, we played a lot of guys out there that are getting their first real action, as a starter. Except for our offensive linemen, they're back with the exception of Parker Hall playing center. But they did a good job of adjusting throughout the game. Lion did some things that definitely didn't expect. Of course, first game out, you never know what you're really going to see. But they got in some fronts that were what we weren't practicing against, and they did a good job making adjustments. And Lion did a good job. They did a good job playing what we do, and we had to adjust. And Miles came through and ran for a lot of yards. And I think the other guy that stood out and I feel like should have got some kind of recognition is when you touch the ball 7 times and have 19 yards per touch. Actually, it's probably more than that if you count the kickoff return too. But Kip Van Hoos takes it might have been his first carry, 85 yards, and the first thing I said to him when he came to the sideline was, I think you ran the ball farther than Dayton did. So that's always high praise if you can say that someone did something more or longer than Dayton Wynn did. So that was a shot in the arm for the offense. It wasn't necessarily for the defense at the time. We need a few plays rest, but we're never going to apologize for scoring. So thought Kip did a good job. The offense did a good job of opening that up for him. I think that at all levels, our skill players can play better in the games and execute better. And I think that we learned a lot from that this week and watching the video and coming back and making adjustments for that.
Also,
you didn't let me talk about Sandy.
Well, you want to talk about Sandy?
They always trying to leave the kickers out. So anybody's watching this, don't let them leave the kickers out. No, Sandy did a great job. Obviously, we never even questioned whether or not we were going to kick those kicks. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of ability to say, hey, we got points here. I was a little disappointed we turned the ball over right before half because that should have been another at least 3 points. It was an ill-advised throw, and we shouldn't have put ourselves in that situation. But Sandy did a good job, obviously having the most points a kicker scored, tying Crenshaw's record. That's always good to be on that board. So we're going to try to challenge him to get more than that.
Also defensively, you guys, sophomore Tanner Hartsfield led the team with 11 total tackles. Brooks Parham, another sophomore, right behind him with 8. Moving alongside, let's move ahead and look at Texas Lutheran. This is a team that hasn't played. They had a scrimmage. You don't know much about the scrimmage other than seeing pictures that they posted online. They didn't take stats. They didn't post the stats. Last year was the first year ever that we've faced them, and we came out with a 10-point victory. Talk about a little bit on your perspective, not giving too much away from your game plan, but just give a little bit of insight on what we can expect for this upcoming weekend in Texas.
Well, I think you're going to expect some rain. I think that's probably going to happen. I mean, we got a tropical depression moving in. Don't know if it's going to, how much that's going to affect west of it, but we're definitely going to see it here. Hopefully, we'll get the game in. I know it's 50% chance of thunderstorms there. So that's number one thing is we want to go there and play. I think it was a great matchup for both teams. They're trying to get ready for their conference schedule. We're trying to get ready for ours. They're a winning program. They've won, multiple national championships there. They've had great coaches. Coach Gus, who's their head coach now, is a great coach, and he does a great job with their players. And one of the things that both of us talked about when we wanted to schedule this game was, want to play some like-minded opponents that are coached well, disciplined, and are good programs because, even though both of us are good programs and, they're in the top echelon of the ASC and we're obviously in the top of the SAA over the last few years, it's not just about us and Texas Lutheran. It's about the Southern Athletic Association versus American Southwest Conference. We also got Trinity playing Hardin-Simmons this week, which is a big game in both leagues as well. And that's just a chance for our conference to play outside of conference games. And that's the negative about playing line. It's an NAIA school. It doesn't really help us or help the league at all, even though there's scholarships and whatnot. We don't really get a benefit out of that other than playing the game. Texas Lutheran will be a great program, and I tell our guys all the time, it's not a team that's going to go give you a win because they're used to winning too. They're going to do things the right way. Coach Gus does it, and their staff is a great staff, and they're going to have those guys coached up, ready to play. It is somewhat of an advantage that we did get a game before them, but therefore it's also a disadvantage because we got some guys banged up and may or may not be playing this week. I think the biggest thing that you're going to see is trying to improve on what we did last week and not make those same mistakes. I mean, I think doing that. I think the other thing that I've really challenged our D-line, I thought they had one of the best offensive lines we played against last year. I think they have one of the best offensive lines we may see this year too. Obviously, it'll be the best we've seen so far, and it's only week 2. So we have to step up our game because when you have a game like we just did on our front seven, that causes attention. It puts a target on you. And I think that what we've got to do is elevate our game to that next stage and the way we want to play the next game. And then that's also indicative of why we wanted to play and why Texas Lutheran. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great opponent, and it's going to get us ready for our conference schedule because the next week we have center rolling in, and that's when it really counts. I mean, not that every game doesn't count. We want to feel good at the end and have more points than the other team, but this is a really equal matchup. I think both teams will be well coached. You won't see a lot of mistakes, and you're going to see two teams that are really going to battle down. And like last year, we were fortunate enough to get some big plays on them. We had a lot of passing yards. Miles had a big game, and Spainhour kind of had his coming out game last year. Had over, I think he had 176 yards or something like that receiving last year on just a few catches. They're not gonna not expect that this year. So I mean, we expect them to make adjustments. They played a lot of freshmen on their defense, especially in their secondary last year. Those guys are going to be good players. They got two really good linebackers, and their D line stacks up well against what we do. So it's going to be a battle up there. Offensively, like I said, their line is very good. They have good tailbacks. They got a senior quarterback that shared time last year, and I'm just kind of glad they kind of shared time in the game with us last year because, he was the guy that kind of moved the offense more than the other guy. Now, whether that was because it was the guy or because our defense played, I don't know. But we'll have our work cut out for us because he's a senior quarterback. And then, again, like I said, we're trying to get better at what we do and trying to execute at a higher level than we did last week.
Last thing right here. You talked about Miles. He threw for 433 and 4 touchdowns to be exact last year against Texas Lutheran. If you weren't a head coach and you were a fan sitting in the stands, who would be the 3 players that you would want to look out for this upcoming weekend?
Well, if I was a fan and I'd want to look out for players, I would probably be looking out for – see, now I'm my head coach here. So I'd be looking out for their nose guard, who's a freaking good player, their running back, who both of them are really good players, and their inside linebackers who can run downhill and get to the football. And then their quarterback's pretty good too. However, we are fortunate. Yes, I would always watch Miles Thompson play. I enjoy watching him play on our sideline as well. Even when he doesn't do the right things, he still does things well. And yeah, I mean, it's always something you definitely want to watch. But hopefully, we execute as a team so it doesn't make one guy stand out there as much.
There you heard it. This has been the recap of our first ever Hendrix Warriors Coaches Show. Thanks, Coach, for coming on.
No problem. Thanks. Appreciate you holding that mic.